Another civil war has erupted in Donald Trump's completely dysfunctional White House, and this time it is not Elon Musk, it is Tulsi Gabbard, who is directly contradicting Donald Trump as his White House is on the verge of complete collapse with war on the brink. It couldn't be a bigger disaster, and now Donald Trump is attacking one of his own cabinet secretaries. We are going to get into why and how much Trump is losing it and whether this means the end of Tulsi Gabbard as the director of national intelligence. But first, we have to start with a different controversy by Tulsi that kind of started this all out, and that was broken down by Senator John Ossoff right here.
We learned that Trump's DNI chief fired the leaders of the intelligence group that wrote that assessment. What do you make of punishing officials like that and all of that behavior?
And by the way, leaked the alleged justification for the firing to Fox News, but did not notify the intelligence committees in the House or Senate, where they have a statutory obligation to notify us. You know, and this raises the obvious concern that senior intelligence analysts may face retaliation for issuing good faith analysis. That's their job, to call balls and strikes, to take the available intelligence that's been collected and render the very best, most objective analysis possible, that they may face retaliation where their analysis, their findings are not helpful to the administration's policy objectives or perhaps reveal false statements that the administration has made in court. And if that is what's happening here, and there's a lot of reason to suspect it is, that chills intelligence analysis throughout the entire intelligence community, which then deprives policymakers of access to accurate information. That's how mistakes are made. That's how our country can make serious geopolitical and national security mistakes, when the intelligence products we're receiving are not down the middle, but instead crafted to curry favor with the administration. And last thing I'd say on this is Tulsi Gabbard, when she came before us testifying to take the job as Director of National Intelligence, her whole thing was depoliticizing the intelligence community. And if she's done this to punish analysis that she or the president didn't like, well, you can rest assured that we on the intelligence community are going to put very tough questions to her under oath about this.
Well, I look forward to seeing you do exactly that. There are a lot of good ones to ask.
So Tulsi Gabbard does not actually plan to do her job as the director of national intelligence. No, she wants to take after every other member of Donald Trump's cabinet and be a TV star and be loyal to Donald Trump. Above all else, that's what they're focused on kissing Donald Trump's ass, not doing their job, not keeping us safe. It is why Tulsi Gabbard is directly contradicting intelligence reports that disagree with Trump, except for one. There is one position in which Tulsi Gabbard is breaking with Donald, and it's her attacks on warmongering elites, as she put it, in an absurd video that is blowing up in her face. And I want to take a look at that right here.
As we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before, political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. Perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to. So it's up to us, the people, to speak up and demand an end to this madness. We must reject this path to nuclear war and work toward a world where no one has to live in fear of a nuclear holocaust.
So this video from Tulsi Gabbard got a lot of coverage for obvious reasons when it first came out. It was incredibly weird. I didn't even play the whole thing because it's 3 minutes of videos of like bombs and underground shelters. It's so weird for MAGA to put on this, anti-institution, anti-elite facade when their president and leader is a billionaire surrounded by other billionaires, being supported by the biggest TV cable news outlet in the country. Like, you own the stuff. You are the elites. You do recognize that. Tulsi Gabbard, you're a cabinet secretary. How are you going after the deep state when you're in charge? So it all runs in contradiction to itself. But as Donald Trump continues to escalate war in the Middle East, whether it be with potential strikes going forward in Iran or just the insane posts he's making, he's not very happy about Tulsi Gabbard challenging warmongers, and that's why he's attacking her, and fights are happening in the White House. Inside the clashes between Trump and Gabbard, the director of national intelligence has rankled Trump with her statements about nuclear war, and the president has suggested she's off message. As Donald Trump privately mulled joining Israel's campaign against Iran this month, one member of his cabinet sent what he viewed as an audacious attempt to steer him in the opposite direction. At 5:30 a.m. on June 10th, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard tweeted a cryptic 3-minute video warning the political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers, and that the world is on the brink of nuclear annihilation. Trump saw the unauthorized video and became incensed, complaining to associates at the White House that she had spoken out of turn, according to 3 people familiar with the episode. Her post came a few days after Israel hawks met with the Trump at White House to lobby him to support Israel's attack on Iran. In the eyes of Trump and some close to him, Gabbard was warning him not to greenlight Israel attacking Iran. Trump even expressed his disapproval to her personally, 3 people said. I don't think he dislikes Tulsi as a person, but certainly the video made him not super hot on her, and he doesn't like it when people are off message, said one of the people, a senior administration official. The official added that Trump also doesn't appreciate it when people appear to be correcting him, and that many took the video as trying to correct the administration's position. Trump's reaction to the video, which has not been previously reported, underscores a widening gap between the president on the brink of potentially joining Israel's war and his anti-interventionist intelligence chief, who in the past has been adamantly against the U.S. engaging in new foreign conflicts. So another Trump civil war has broken out because 1, the president has no idea what he's doing, and 2, I don't really think Tulsi necessarily does either. If we know she has been willing to sacrifice our safety by firing top officials within her bureau because, what? She didn't like that they contradicted the president, but she's willing to do so when it really hits close to home? No, that seems like someone making reckless and emotional decisions. And speaking of reckless and emotional, we also heard, unfortunately, way too much from Pete Hegseth today, and I want to check out more of what wasn't nearly covered enough that he had to say today.
The $1 billion mission that he led against the Houthis, who do not have a navy, has not restored the transit of U.S. flag commercial vessels through the Red Sea, and in fact has resulted in the loss of 2 F-18 Hornets to the tune of $60 million apiece, as well as, I believe the last count was 7 Reaper drones to the tune of another $200 million. You are blowing through money like my fellow cadets and I did in our First Liberty after basic camp. Luckily, I didn't end up with a questionable tattoo. Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office, has been staggering. You sent classified operational information over Signal to chest thump in front of your wife, who, by the way, has no security clearance, risking service member lives in the process. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthis, whom, again, as my colleague says, has no navy, and yet you lost all of those aircraft. You've created such a hostile command environment that no one wants to serve as your chief of staff or work with you in other senior DoD leadership roles. But what we should all be talking about, more than all of this, is that you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighters, and yes, the war fighting that you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you are too inexperienced and incompetent to understand the real threats facing our country, or if it's because you are just an unqualified yes man who can't tell the president how to keep Americans safe. You are focusing on renaming basis for Confederate generals. You said just now to Senator King that to a man and to a woman, we would rather be associated with the old Confederate names. Well, I am one of those women. I served at Fort Rucker, Alabama, a base that was named for a traitor who took arms against the United States of America, led troops who killed Americans. It was renamed for Mike Novosel, a Medal of Honor recipient, who in his citation for the Medal of Honor includes that he saved 29 American lives, to include hovering backwards in a helicopter towards an enemy bunker where a wounded American was laying and saved that person, including after being taken fire himself. I know a little something about what it takes to fly a helicopter when you've been hit by enemy fire. That was heroic. I'd rather be associated with Mike Novosel than a failed Confederate traitor. I don't know whether you are inexperienced or too incompetent, but I wonder when you will actually focus on our nation's warfighting mission. We know that California is just a deliberate, systematic, political and dangerous campaign led by you. We should not be using our military to play cops against Americans. General Kane, as chairman, a key part of your job is to coordinate military planning across the joint force. Is the department currently incorporating into any military plans expanding the use of the reserve forces to include the National Guard or active duty troops to support domestic law enforcement, including in other locations in the United States?
Senator, you know, we careful.
So no, General.
Well, it's not really a yes or no question, Madam Senator. We plan all kinds of different things.
I think it is a yes or no question.
I'm not aware of anything, but the reason why I'm answering is the tags may be looking at something that I'm not aware of.
What are you doing at your level? You're not aware of that happening at your level? Because we know that on his first day, President Trump directed U.S. Northern Command to revise its unified command plan to add new planning requirements to combat, and I quote, criminal activities. A series of follow-up executive orders continue to redirect DOD priorities to supporting domestic law enforcement, including one in April that tells DOD, and I quote, use national security assets for law and order. In other words, do law enforcement's job. I'd like to enter these executive orders into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Secretary Hegseth, you say you are focused on warfighting and warriors. These are your words. Yet you are diverting untold DOD resources and attention to fundamentally non-military mission of domestic policing. Across the country, we have qualified police officers who are trained for that mission. They know those streets better than the Marines you deploy to Los Angeles, who normally focus on the Indo-Pacific. And you recently approved 700 more troops in 3 other states to do admin and logistics works for ICE. You say all of this is valuable training, but I would much rather have our troops do tough, realistic training relevant to high-end combat. Instead of typing in spreadsheets for ICE, they should be conducting live-fire maneuver exercises. Instead of patrolling American neighborhoods and standing in front of federal buildings, they should be rehearsing call-for-fire missions. We have local police who can stand in front of those federal buildings. And the list of distractions goes on. You are encouraging the DOD workforce to go work for DHS in increasing numbers. You're pulling the military away from facing foreign enemies who literally say things like death to America. And you're putting troops with weapons aimed at Americans. Mr. Secretary, let the military get back to its real job. Stop forcing them to do DHSs. And if you want to be DHS Secretary, maybe you can apply for that job when you're fired from this one.
We are on the brink of another global conflict. Donald Trump is losing his mind, talking about erecting flagpoles. Tulsi Gabbard is posting about nuclear annihilation and little short films that I don't know if she's trying to submit them to like Cannes or Sundance, but she seems focused on her production quality. And Pete Hegseth is just putting back martinis, I assume. Does anyone feel good about this? I don't. I don't know how people voted for this. I don't know. But it's just going to be our job to keep calling it out and covering it. We're going to be doing so on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.